On the weekend of December 2nd, 1983, a two-day music festival was held in Hamburg, Germany. The event, named Hörfest, was the first of an event that would become a fixture in northern Germany throughout the 80s and early 90s. Put on by the radio station NDR, and sponsored by organizations like the Hamburg Conservatory, its purpose was to showcase young, upcoming German musicians. The second day of the festival begins with a speech by Hamburg's Minister of Culture, Helga Schuckart, and she's followed by a panel of music industry professionals. The rest of the day would feature several acts that had made their way to that stage after a rigorous screening process that eliminated hundreds of bands. One of the bands that found themselves on that stage was called Fret Band, led by a musician named Michael Hadrick, who had a band of the same name for 2 years in Philadelphia. Having returned to Germany and remade the band, by the time of Hörfest 83, Fret had already been building a solid reputation in the local scene. But ultimately, it would be a different project that got Michael much more attention. Eventually. A band called FEX. Why would FEX get so much attention? Well, you see, FEX is the band responsible for the most mysterious song on the internet. This video is sponsored by Helix. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding, custom fit to your needs and shipped right to your door. Everyone sleeps differently, so Helix has you take a sleep quiz to match your body type and sleep preferences. I'm a side sleeper, so Helix set me up with a Sunset mattress. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including their award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections, the Helix Plus, mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and the Helix Kids mattress, designed for growing bodies and endorsed by child sleep and medical experts. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. It comes rolled up in a box, and it's easy to set up. And to make sure you love your Helix mattress, there's a 100 nights of sleep trial. You also get a 10-year warranty, as well as financing options and flexible payment plans. Also, Helix mattresses are fiberglass free. I've been sleeping on Helix mattresses for several years now, and it's some of the best sleep that I've ever gotten. And I hate feeling too hot when I sleep, so I got the Glacio Tex upgrade too. Their Black Friday sale is running now for a limited time, and it's a great time to upgrade your mattress. Visit helixsleep.com/wang and get 25% off your Helix mattress, plus 2 free pillows. And receive a free bedding bundle with your Luxe or Elite order. In a few of the other Lost Media videos that I did this year, I said that I really felt that this was going to be the year that we solved the most mysterious song on the internet. But every time I said that, in the back of my head, I'm like, if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna look like a total dumbass. Well, here we are, and although I may still be a dumbass, it's not for that reason. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, you really should go back and watch all of my videos on the most mysterious song on the internet, because there's a lot of ground to cover. But to keep it short, the song dubbed the most mysterious song on the internet was recorded off of German radio in the 80s by a young man named Darius. It sounds like this. In 2007, his sister Lydia posted Darius's recording online, hoping to identify it. And in the following 17 years, it would go on to become basically the most infamous lost song of all time. The song that was a catalyst for opening up this whole world of lost media for a lot of people. Yet, as more and more new cases of lost media would open up and get solved, this one always remained a mystery. Until now. The final story arc really begins with the NDR radio playlists. NDR, of course, being the radio station that Darius recorded off of. After becoming aware of their key role in this mystery, NDR themselves became involved in the search, and thankfully they maintained very thorough records over the years. And they were able to provide spreadsheets of all the songs that played on the air during the relevant time period. As people were searching through these playlists, some noticed that a few of the songs were labeled as being by Amateur Band. A thread by Pog 18 almost exactly a year ago looks into what the listing Amateur Band might mean. The Amateur Band listings seem to be grouped together, so perhaps NDR had a show where they featured unknown acts. Furthermore, one of these large blocks of amateur bands appeared on September 17th of 1984, which would have placed it between some of the other songs that Darius had on his mixtape. Pog was convinced that the song had to have aired on that block. A user named Kirk1v noted, however, that in German, band can also mean tape, and at the time, it was pretty common for hobbyist musicians to record jam sessions with no intention of it being a full-fledged band or anything like that. I think the interpretation of tape is most logical. School or college or youth center had a porta studio, allowed some of the students or regulars to use it, some teacher sent it to NDR, it got played and went into oblivion from there, like many other recordings made that way. if his theory was correct, and that song in fact did have that kind of origin, could actually be bad news. It might make it impossible to identify. It could mean that no recording of the song existed at all outside of Darius's. Could also mean that the people who did it wouldn't even remember doing it or who they did it with. But still, that was just one theory, and nobody could be 100% sure what NDR meant by amateur band. So people kept looking into that. In May, a user named OK Horse believes they got to the bottom of it. AG Hurfest. I don't know if this topic has been discussed. I think the amateur bands are part of this AG Hurfest protocol, and they share screenshots of a German article about the event. It describes an event named Hurfest, which was produced by NDR and a number of other sponsors. Musicians and comedians were asked to send their demos to the radio station. The chosen acts would perform live to be voted on by the audience for cash prizes. Over 500 acts applied that year. A German user named Lord Elland would find that NDR had actually released several compilations of Hurfest bands, but these only began to be released in 1985, which of course was after when the song would have been recorded. In fact though, this wasn't the first time Hurfest came up as a lead. People have been coming across it as far back as 2021. User Probably Doesn't Exist commented that in the past, people were only able to find scans of mentions in Hamburg newspapers that only included a very small portion of the bands. But the Hurfest lead would be revisited once again in July, this time in a post by Successful Bread 347. Successful Bread noted that Hurfest 1984 happened on the 14th and the 15th of September, just 2 days before that big chunk of amateur bands appears in the spreadsheet. Additionally, according to a piece of promotional content that they found, the bands would be recorded live. And there was a theory that the version of the song that we all knew was actually a live recording. Users who were more knowledgeable about production pointed to how it was mixed and mastered. But the problem was there didn't seem to be a complete list of the bands anywhere. People were able to find clues that revealed what some of the bands were, but the list was far from complete. But a possible breakthrough came about when a German user named Stemba17 discovered the Archive of Hamburg. It appeared to be an organization that digitized various forms of local print media, including newspapers and posters, and it had listings for Hurfest 1983, 84, and 85. Nobody could be 100% sure what was in these archives, but it could possibly be the answer to everything. But this wasn't like the Internet Archive, it wasn't actually online. And despite it saying that it was open to the public, it wasn't particularly clear how you can actually get access to it. A user named 94XCYK would find the proper process to do so, but someone would have to go in person, and each page would cost 60 euro cents. And there was no clue how many pages there actually were. Stembe made a request with the archive, but these things take a while. In the meantime, however, a user named Snigelpasta made a big discovery. So one of the bands that people found performed in 1984 was called Twilight. Snigelpasta managed to get in touch with one of the band's members, Peter Jack. And Peter Jack just so happened to have all of his Hurfest stuff saved, including a poster that featured the entire list of 20 bands. It also mentions that the event is being broadcast on multiple stations, such as NDR on September 17th. A user of the forum, Purple Dog with Spats, had a friend who lived in Hamburg. His friend would go to the archives, and he found out that the cost of digitizing everything would have been absurd, but the vast majority of the stuff was irrelevant. Mostly just bureaucratic stuff like invoices and whatnot. They estimated that only something like 25% of it was actually useful, so that's the stuff that was scanned. Despite eliminating like 75% of the paperwork though, they were still left with nearly 1,000 pages. That's a lot of pages, so a team was formed to go through it all. User Purple Dog with Spats, Lord Elland, Marion1412, Probably Doesn't Exist, Successful Bread, Johnny Me Too, and Stemba17. Eventually they put together a list of about 900 bands from 1983 to 1985. One of these bands may have potentially been the band behind the song. This list was made of many, but not all of the Hurfest applicants. That's way too many bands for a small team like that to go through. So to help organize things, a thread was made where people could claim a band to focus on in the comments. Successful Bread will also make posts called Hurquest, where the community would focus on some of the bands that hadn't been looked into yet. In an FAQ he made about the Hurfest lead, Successful Bread noted that it's not confirmed that the band we're looking for was actually at Hurfest, but even if they had no involvement in the festival at all, we're still looking at an event in the same area, in the same time frame, put on by the same radio station. Even if they didn't make the song, someone at the festival might know who did. Thus, Hurfest became the main focus of the search for the coming months. Then in October, Marine1412 would come across the clue that blew the whole thing wide open. While searching for info about Hurfest bands, he came across an old newspaper article. A piece that ran about a band called FEX. They were a Kiel-based band that won a talent contest in Bremen in September of 1984. Their music was described as rock with wave and pop influences. You know what else has wave and pop influences, don't you? But you know, that's hundreds of bands. That means nothing. I mean, over the course of the search, so many rock bands with wave and pop influences have been looked into. But there was something unusual that stood out to him. Something that he probably never would have noticed had he not been disengaged with the search. That being the name of the keyboardist, Michael Hadrick. You see, previously, Marine had been looking into a band that performed at Whorefest 1983 called Fret Band, and Michael Hadrick was one of its members. So maybe this was something. And he was actually able to get in touch with Michael, who was now 68 years old. Michael replied and sent him some of the songs that he made with Fret and FEX. One of the FEX tracks was called Subways of Your Mind. Here it is. This is a completely different recording of the song, but it's the song. This version appeared on a 3-song cassette including other tracks entitled Heart in Danger and Talking Hands. So that's it. That's the most mysterious song on the internet. Subways of Your Mind. Shout out to the very, very small percentage of people who thought that was the title. Marine informed Michael that this search was actually the subject of a massive, several decades long search that millions of people were aware of. Michael had no idea. Before Marine went public with the discovery, Michael asked if he could first talk to the other band members. And after speaking to vocalist Ture Roquart and bassist Norbert Zierman, they registered the song and agreed to making all this information public. Later, they would provide user Damn Piggy Lost Wave with a live version of the song that was recorded at the Roxy Paderborn in May of 1985. Now, of course there was some skepticism about this discovery, but to me, this live version 99.99999% confirms it. Like, this is clearly the same guy singing the same song in a different live recording. And the music has all the subtle differences you might expect from a live performance. Funny enough, there are actually quite a few close calls in the history of the search. After the discovery that FEX was the band who made the song, a YouTube channel named More German Grooves uploaded another FEX song he had. This was a song that wasn't on the tape entitled Jenny. It appeared on a compilation from the Zeus Newcomer Show, which was a competition in Germany where a winner was picked based on who got the loudest applause. Apparently they even had meters set up that measured the decibels. The uploader noted that they actually bought this compilation 3 years ago while looking for the song, and they didn't realize that they found the band. A few replies asked how he could have heard that voice and not realized it, or he just replied that he's not good at identifying voices, and the music style didn't seem to match. Which honestly, I think it's very likely that I would have done the same thing. Because the recording we're all familiar with has this kinda darker post-punk or new wave kinda sound, while this track is kinda like... For that matter, even the tape that Michael shared has more of a David Bowie kind of vibe that I would have expected. Lord Ella noted on Reddit that a lot of people actually came across this compilation and did the same thing, they just didn't realize it. The band Fret had also come up a few times as far back as 2021. In fact, Successful Bread had developed an AI tool for the search that suggested looking into Fret a few months before the Whorefest lead became the focus. So how are the band all reacting to this? Shortly after the reveal, Michael, who had never stopped making music, posted about the discovery in the comments of a song from his current project, Silk Vision. This is Michael from Silk Vision. In the 1980s, I was a member of the band FEX in northern Germany. A few days ago, I learned that a song we recorded with the band around 1983 is the most mysterious song on the internet. This absolutely caught me by surprise because I was not aware of the phenomenon. I immediately contacted the original band members, and we couldn't believe something like this happening. Now we are busy resolving the mystery, and we decided to reunite to re-record the song. We'll keep you posted. Michael's daughter would come to the subreddit, proving her identity by posting a picture of the cassette with Michael's DX7. Ironically, she herself became interested in internet mysteries a few months ago after Celebrity Number 6 was solved. But she hadn't actually heard this song until all this happened. She gave some info about what he was doing, that he wasn't able to get much sleep since it happened, and he would be meeting with the other band members this week. He was also doing a ton of interviews that she kept the subreddit updated on. She didn't have answers for a lot of the questions people had for her, but she was trying to get him to do a Reddit AMA. She was able to clarify that the band is pronounced FEX and not FEX or FX. The first interview Michael did was with a German outlet called TZ. In the interview, he notes that after he was contacted, he just dug out a few old cassettes from his time playing in bands in Kiel. Depending on how much music that actually encompasses, there's a chance that he might have grabbed any other cassette tape and this mystery would still be unsolved. Like, there's a universe where he sends Marine something completely different and the mystery just never gets solved. How did your former band members react? We were all completely surprised and overwhelmed by the really nice comments and contributions. We suddenly found out what was happening on the internet without us noticing. But that wasn't because we were old hands and not digital natives. There's simply no trigger. Throughout the search, a lot of people assume that maybe these guys just aren't online because of their age. But as it turns out, they are online, they just happen to never see it. Which is totally reasonable. I mean, every other day I feel like I come across another celebrity I've never heard of, but they have millions of fans. Michael also has a bunch of stuff to prove that they are who they say they are. We have complete material that we can cite to remove any doubt. Original recording of the studio session, recording from the rehearsal room before the studio session, live recording of at least 2 of our performances where the song was played, statements from the original band members, witnesses from the studio session, our agent at the time, detailed description of the recording situation, the unmistakable voice of the singer. He also noted that they've all lost touch with their drummer Hans Seaver and assume he stopped playing. They found the drummer. Hans Seaver sat down and read his morning newspaper only to find out that his old band from 40 years ago was the talk of the entire world. He still has his FEX cassette tape as well as the original drum set he used to play the music. He's excited to catch up with his old bandmates and looks forward to participating in the re-recording as well as hopefully a few shows. Michael, on the other hand, a software developer by trade, also worked as a studio musician and composed music for commercials, musicals, and film. As for the song itself, he said it was mainly the vocalist Tura's idea, and the rest of the band built the song around it. And even back in the day, this was one of the main highlights of their catalog. As for how it wound up on the radio, they're not actually sure. He suggests that perhaps their agent leaked it, which if that's the case, that would explain why the version that played on NDR is different from the version on the cassette tape. In an interview with Der Spiegel, he spoke a bit about how people were discussing the song online. For example, he hadn't considered the song to be a new wave song. He felt that new wave bands were more extreme than they were. He also clarified something that I was a bit confused about. According to Hedrick, much of what has been compiled on the internet about the song is correct. For example, in the version circulating on the internet, a Yamaha DX7 synthesizer can actually be heard. He himself also played a Korg Poly 6 and a Korg MS-20. According to Hedrick, Subways of Your Mind was created sometime between 1982 and 1983. On a demo recording of the song, which he passed on to Marine 1412, the Yamaha DX7, which was released in 1983, was still missing. So the version of the song that we all knew is more recent than the one on the cassette. I was thinking that that one felt more final and polished, but I wasn't sure if that was just me having a preference for the darker tone of it. On the 11th of November, the band would go back to where it all really started, NDR. Oh shit, I'm on German TV.
The most mysterious song on the internet.
After speaking a bit about the mystery, they performed an acoustic version of the song.
Check it in and check it out, but the sun will never shine. Paranoid anyway, in the subways of your mind.
This was the first time they had played together in almost 40 years, which has got to be kind of a surreal experience. I really hope these guys do a tour. I know I saw some comments saying they're too old for that now, but I just saw a 73-year-old Fabio Frizzi. And I'm gonna go see a 72-year-old Claudio Simonetti for the second time this year in a couple weeks. And those guys came all the way from Italy, so I wouldn't count them out just yet. Finally, Lydia, Darius' sister, who set this whole internet search off all the way back in 2007, posted her thoughts to Reddit. Hey and hello everyone. I'm sure many of you have been waiting for me to get back to you, but apart from a lot of work, it took me a while to be sure that we really have the right band. And I also had to let the developments of the last few days sink in. Today, I want to tell you that I am now 100% sure that FEX is the band that wrote and recorded the song, and thus, the solution to this almost endless mystery has been found. Tonight, there was a meeting between the band and a journalist, and I was connected to the meeting by phone. So I had the opportunity to talk to Tur, Michael, and Norbert for about 30 minutes and ask some questions. They were so incredibly nice and still overwhelmed by the new situation and full of gratitude that we didn't give up and finally track them down. Others contributed far more to this than I did, so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who put so much energy into the search, and especially those who put the final pieces of the puzzle together. This phone call removed the last doubts I had about the authenticity of the band, the way they spoke to each other, the warmth and friendliness, the joy that what they had created so long ago had made a difference, left me with no other conclusion than that we have found the true authors of our song. At the end of the phone call, they played the song again live acoustically, and I don't want to exaggerate, but I had a lump in my throat and tears in my eyes throughout. If someone had predicted this to me a few days ago, I would have looked at them very strangely. Of course, this is not the end, but the beginning of something new, which I am extremely curious about and very much looking forward to. If possible, I would of course like to meet the band and talk to them. But first, they should enjoy their new fame and peace. Haha. As soon as the song is re-recorded, it will be available on Spotify, and I'm looking forward to the number of streams. My brother would like to add something now that the last question mark in his cassette collection has been eliminated. Anyway, that's the story of the most mysterious song on the internet. I can't believe I just said that. If you like this video, turn on notifications and check out this compilation of lost media stories. I'm out.
Check it in, check it out, but the sun will never